Hey, what's up everyone? This video isn't going to be about drifting. It's going to be actually about my 1969 Nissan Patrol. If you've ever stalked my YouTube or whatever, you've seen there actually are videos not of drifting. And I figured while I've got some downtime with the car waiting for parts, I figure maybe showcase my little Patrol here. So it's a 1969 Nissan Patrol G60 is the chassis code. Some facts about it, I guess. I think there were only about 2,600 imported to the US. And something I thought was pretty cool, if I get my facts right, they were all imported to the West Coast, I'm pretty sure. To get one on the East Coast or anywhere other than the West Coast, you had to kind of know someone selling them. You had to know a dealer, and you had to call that dealer to be like, hey, I want a Nissan Patrol, and they'd send you one. And I believe they were only sold in the US for 7 or 8 years, and still they only sold about 2,600 or so. So let's get into it. So I guess I'll start with the drivetrain. I went ahead and swapped an LS in, 5.3 from a 99 Silverado. Pretty much just your standard swap motor. It's got some universal weld-on mounts from eBay. It's actually got an SR20 aluminum radiator, just a crappy little intake that works just fine for this purpose. I mounted the computer back there. So this vehicle originally came with an inline 6 4-liter, and it was actually a massive engine, and it took up a lot of space. And of course this engine's only 4 cylinders long, so it left me with actually a lot of space between the back of the engine and the firewall, which is really nice when you have to work on stuff. I also did a custom brake setup using I think a 95 K1500 or C1500 brake master cylinder, whatever. More on the brakes, I did a custom disc brake setup. I don't know how well you can see them, but it's using a Toyota 4Runner caliper in the front. And actually, here's something cool. It's using a Nissan 240SX caliper in the rear. Oh, let's see if I can zoom right there. Yeah, kind of see it. Still working on the parking brake setup, but yeah, seems to be running pretty good. The transmission is a SM465. You may have seen some videos on that, me talking about how it's not working right. It's from a 1980 GM 1-ton truck, and the transfer case is a Dana 18 from a, I don't know the exact year Jeep, but the generation is 46 to 53, I believe. So I also made a custom gauge panel. I designed this and cut it out of wood. And then radio panel, I designed it and cut it. This is actually plexiglass. What normally would be here is actually an ashtray, one of those flip out ashtrays, but I don't smoke and I wanted a radio, so I put a radio in there. I made my own little speaker boxes there, and then in the rear as well. And I got the seats. These are the original seats. They've just been reupholstered. So one thing I told myself when I was working on this thing, putting it together and, you know, doing all that, is I wanted it to have some creature comforts and things, you know, like a radio and turn signals and stuff. So I was actually able to, like I said, put a radio in. It's got a heater with 3 speeds, 2 cigarette lighter plugs. It's got interior lights, so 1 there and 1 in the back. Off-road lights. This is just an override switch for the electric fan for right now. It's got windshield wipers that are supposed to be 2-speed, but I think it's really only 1 speed that's working. Oh, it's got a fuel level, oil pressure, water temp, headlight switch for low and high beams, and it's got hazards. Something else that I think is pretty cool that you'll probably never see on a US car is the turn signal switch is actually on the right side. So you go up for left and down for right. But I was actually surprised at how good of condition this was in for it being original. A lot of them are super torn up and corroded and everything, but this one luckily is in really good condition and it works great actually. So something else that I want to kind of show you. You see this little hole here? Keep that in mind. I also made this swing out tire carrier. It actually works really well. What I used for a hinge is actually the rear wheel hub of a Mercedes something. I don't know. I got it from one of my buddies. So I made this mount right here on the also not OEM bumper. Bolted the hub on and welded some bars to it, and it works really well. So I just kind of pull it out. There we go. Oh, let's see if I can open this. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's got a pretty fun little interior. Not too big, but definitely big enough to store a weekend's worth of camping gear or something like that. I got my fuel tank access panels here that I made. You know, it's pretty simple. Oh, and remember that hole that I showed you in the front bumper. So you see there's a clip right here and a clip right there. What normally went there was an engine crank handle, because I guess back in the day you could literally crank up the OEM engine, but obviously can't do that with the LS, so it took it out of there. Going down below as best I can. So these are actually the stock axles. I did a custom spring over conversion to give me, I think, about 6 inches of lift. And there again you can see the S13 calipers on there. Added some hose for higher breather for the diffs. It's got, let me see if I can get closer. I can't really tell what you're looking at right now, but it's got a dual 2.5-inch exhaust to single 3-inch to a muffler. It sounds real good. Drive shafts are custom, of course. Custom transmission cross member. So another cool thing about the underside of the Patrol is that is where the battery is, and you actually access it under the driver's seat. There's a little aluminum panel that I made. You pop the seat up, and actually I can do it real quick. Show you. So there's this little button right here. So you pop the seat up, and then there's your battery access. Pretty cool. So these wheels, they're not OEM. They just came with it when I got the vehicle. I think the OEM wheels are some kind of 2-piece design. Not really sure how they work. These are aftermarket. The locking hubs. The original ones I had, they were worn actually, but they were in really bad shape, and I figured I'll just buy some new ones because I actually found some. And I'm sure, as you can imagine, parts for this thing are super hard to find. If you can't find it here, you might be able to find it in Australia. And if you find it in Australia, it's a lot of money for the part and a lot of money for shipping. So there's a lot of stuff on this thing that I made myself, or I just kind of made it. I retrofitted other parts to work on this thing. But yeah, it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of fun. I need to make a new gas tank for it because I want a lot higher capacity, and also my current one leaks, and I want to be able to like go a whole weekend off-roading without having to worry about losing fuel. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I just made this video, you know, in case anyone was interested in seeing what the Patrol was all about, in case you had seen my videos and all that stuff. All right, thanks guys, see ya.